In January 2026, Ugandans will return to the polls to hand a fresh 5-year mandate to their leaders, from LC5 to MPs and the highest office of them all, the presidency. A few months to this crucial election, the Supreme Court's recommendations on electoral reforms are yet to see the light of day, despite featuring prominently among Justice Minister Norbert Maul's promises for reform.
We have already tabled it in cabinet. It has faced some delays, but we are going to get it done.
The promises kept coming.
Even while we are going to put some laws, the real problem really is the political culture.
Will it be promise after promise until there are no promise to make?
Mao cannot do anything before his mentor, President Museveni, looks into what he wants to bring on.
As Ugandans await the reforms, opposition voices demanding the same are reaching a crescendo.
We hear him talk in workshops in different places that is bringing these reforms, but we don't see them on the floor of parliament.
Requests for an opportunity to table the proposed reforms are yet to yield fruit. Time is running out and 2026 is drawing closer.
We don't know whether reforms are coming from America. We are not seeing them and the time is gone.
Should Ugandans return to the polls with the same playing field and expect a different result altogether?
A selfish, there must be something fishy.
Is the cabinet really interested in these reforms?
In cabinet, you are bound by common responsibility. And in any case, the Mao we used to talk about is a Mao who was standing free.
Do Ugandans really need these reforms? And if they do, why isn't government bringing these forward? This is the Frontline. Frontline.
Well, a very good evening. Welcome to the Frontline. It's me, Simon Kagwanjala, still making sense of what 2026 portends. Now, after prospects for electoral reforms were dealt a huge blow with Honorable Norbert Mao, the person who would call the chief promoter of reforms, came out and said that cabinet is not interested. Well, that means the whole initiative hit a snag. What does this mean for elections? Given that the judiciary has called for reforms in elections to improve the electoral hygiene of the country, and several other activists on the political landscape have also called for an improvement in our electoral systems to ensure free, fair and credible elections. That will be the point of our discussion tonight with our frontliner, the government chief executive of the media center, and Honorable Salam Musumba, a very seasoned politician from the PFF, and Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Nganda, Member of Parliament, Kira Municipality, and the spokesperson of PFF. Good to have you, Honorable Semuju.
Thank you.
I believe you are 100 million richer with
wish.
the bounty that fell yesterday.
I don't think there is anybody who will host here. And you ask him, do you have 100 million? And he will say yes, and you know it. But I don't have it.
So you never got that call in the middle of the night, rather in the evening, to go and pick some?
No, the story is around Parliament. Very unfortunate story. Not surprising. Because if money is given, it will not be the first time. Maybe what I haven't established is the motive. I earlier told the journalist I have been in Parliament as a journalist, as an MP. So the giving of money, I think, officially started with the 7th Parliament during the consideration of constitutional changes. And I think we would never have known if the ones distributing at that time, I think Anifa Kawoya, Opumwesige, Ida Mehanje, somebody else.
At Mosakot?
Yes. But the reason we got to know is because they refused to give Honorable Sechiko, who was not supportive of the removal of term limit. But yet how many beneficiaries confirmed. The Honorable Tafiri said, for me, I drank mine. So people had given money denied. And because there had been Sechiko who broke the story, there was still some doubt until when one by one started admitting that for me they gave me. So that was the first time. But I mean, since then, Museveni has been giving MPs money to change the constitution, to remove age limit. I think he gave them about 200 million shilling. But there was also money given to us officially. We were given money to go and consult on the marriage and divorce bill, 5 million, which we returned. We were given 29 million to go and consult on the removal of age limit itself. There was also another money for NADS. I don't remember what it was, that we go and consult. Clearly the money was not for consultation, because the argument some of us who returned it made was that we are facilitated with the mileage to return to our constituents at least twice a month. Of course, we never go back, with the exception of a few of us who stay in the constituencies we represent. So giving money is not a new story about Parliament. Corruption that is official sometimes is very easy to establish.
Okay, is there any
because
credibility?
Is
there a bit of credibility in
because
reports?
there is a trace when it is official corruption. Unofficial corruption is not easy to establish, because those involved, the two parties, will deny, and it is your word against theirs. Those
so
who,
you're among the deniers?
I am not NRM, and I have not seen any opposition or heard who says I received, or that's why today we are writing a petition to the IGG, inviting the IGG to come and investigate. So we did not receive money. The NRMs have said they did not receive money. But in the past, it has been the same denial. That's the point I wanted to make. That when it is unofficial corruption, that sort of routing, nobody will come and say, I received the money. When it is official, it is easy to establish, because the money has now been formally sent to MPs' accounts. So that's where we are with that story. It's a moral issue. I haven't established if money was given, what the motive was, either because of the earlier decisions Parliament has taken. But those who broke the story said we have a UPDF Amendment Act that is on its way to Parliament. One of the aims of that law is to restore the military courts. I don't know really if that is the motive, or there's something else.
You, if, and hypothetically asking, if you got that money,
yes,
would you return it?
I remember in the last Parliament, I refused to return money for COVID, but it had been officially given. I refused,
20.
and
Was it
20
20?
million, I was forced to return. But I was able to tell the public that I received and I refused to return. But we were put under pressure, but that was money officially given. I have never received unofficial money, so you can't ask me if I would not receive. But the one that is officially given, everybody gets. When you go the one of COVID, I said I am not returning because I have people who are looking for it in my constituents. But Museveni said you must return it, and what he did, he went behind our back and gave NRM MPs 40 million.
Do you think MPs who never appended their signatures to the resolution should be crucified?
I don't think so. You see, we need to understand. I earlier told journalists when I was chief opposition whip in the last Parliament, the 29 million, we were about 61 opposition MPs. And I appeared with, first of all, we had agreed that all of us would appear at a press conference and return the money, because it had been officially given to us. And I read the group. We withdrew money, went to a press conference, and after the press conference we said we will return the money to Bank of Uganda, because when we returned the 5 million, Parliament put it to use. We say, no, this one we must return to Bank of Uganda and get a general receipt. What surprised me, even some of the colleagues with whom we addressed the media did not return the money. After the press conference, they walked to the basement in their car, put the money, and disappeared. That's why when we were in Mbale, and they brought a list of those who had returned the money, I was also learning for the first time that out of 61 MPs opposition, only 16 had returned the money. It's very tempting. But the one that is unofficial corruption, unofficially given, it's very difficult because everybody will deny. So you have no basis of saying, Semunju, did you receive, why don't you return? Because there is no evidence. But even the one where there was evidence, people did not return it.
I want to pick your reaction on the haste. What has been described as a haste at Parliament. The House has become now a house of deals. That last evening, a group of MPs were called and they shared the loot.
No, I wouldn't classify it as haste. Haste would mean that they went by themselves probably. But anyway, I don't think it was yesterday.
The other day.
I came from Kapelbyong, I think on Monday or Tuesday, and I bumped into an NRM MP from Palisa, maybe like 6 p.m. And he quickly left me telling me he had been called to Parliament to receive money. I asked him for what. He said, no, we had requested the government, the president, to bail us out because we have dates. And this is not something we can hide. MPs have asked the president to bail them out.
Across board, or NRM MPs?
No, across board. I know a former FDC MP from Soga who was bailed 150 million by the president. His house, he had mortgaged his house. It was an election. And the president, being the magnanimous person he is, he did bail this FDC MP. I see him running around now in a nope and this kind of thing. But that happens. So, we have had these things before, but like Semunju, you can even see Honorable Semunju taking a detour in around, speaking in tongues. That means there's something he knows, but for good public relations with his colleagues, he doesn't want to say.
I don't know.
he doesn't want to. So, but anyway, that's where we are. It's not unusual, particularly now, when people are facing the pressures of election. You have been a parliamentary reporter like I have, like Semunju has been. We all know that when people are going towards election, it is maybe 50% of MPs, most likely 50%, don't even have 100,000 on their pay slip. They have borrowed against their salary, they have borrowed against their allowances, they have even borrowed against their gratuity. Partly because of taking on roles that are not theirs. For example, I really think if MPs collectively put a stand and say, the first year of Parliament, we want the government to deal with ambulances. We don't pass this budget unless you buy ambulances for general hospitals. Second year, you say, Mr. Government, we are not passing the budget unless you fund primary education sufficiently. And so on. So they have taken on responsibilities which are not theirs, and so it brings pressure on them. They have taken on barriers of their constituents, which is not theirs. They have taken on paying school fees, which is not theirs. And so some of them are suffering from a burden, genuine, but not theirs, which they should give to the government. And the president has been warning them, please don't carry constituencies on your head. The president tells them, me as the president, I will give money, but I will give money from government resources. That's why the president can ask for, you call it donations, because he doesn't go to sell his cows. to support.
As we speak, there is a list of MPs who came out to condemn the act and even appended their signatures.
You want to believe them? You want to believe those MPs? They are doing a katemba. I don't want to believe them, even if they have received. It is unlikely that they will say we have received. Look at this thing of in the accountability committees. You have been a parliamentary reporter. Yes. You know that a parliamentary in the accountability committees, MPs and particularly the leadership of those of those committees extort, they harangue accounting officers and the opposition-led committees. So don't believe in what those opposition MPs are doing.
It's window dressing.
Yeah, they are pulling the wool on our eyes, our eyes, so that we don't see. But since we don't have hard evidence, it would be unfair to condemn them as if we have the evidence. But no, you and I have been in Parliament. No, I mean, last year we had the Agora exhibition. Even where huge monies were passing through, you saw everybody was tightly. You remember the case of which brought on Mpuga was isolated and hounded. But you remember even Honorable Mpuga himself initially said, I wish I could receive 500 million. Until the spokesperson of Parliament came and said, no. Actually, this money was passed in the budget and was received. It later transpired that actually Parliament borrowed from its own SACCO, its own savings account for members of Parliament, to pay this casino to the commissioners, and reimbursed, paid back the loan. It was at that point that Honorable Mpuga admitted, and all the other commissioners, but he had already been isolated and fought by his party. You remember the case of Honorable Senyonyi of going out and spending fewer days. It was when Agora exposed and he went back to bring back the balance of the money, and so on and so forth. So the opposition MPs are going around with this list. I think it is pulling the wool on our eyes. I don't want to buy it.
Honorable Salam, thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
What is your interpretation of how this story about the 100 million is unfolding?
It's actually supposed to be 200 million.
Sorry?
The bargain was 200 million. And so 100 might have been deposited. And you don't need to look far, just look at the happiness of the recipients and how they manage themselves. So they expose themselves as guilty. They're guilty as accused. This character of politics in Parliament is a great disaster to democracy and the nation, because every subsequent Parliament becomes wasara. You see, it has become a house of transactions, transactional parliaments. And it is the elder, the seniors that have poisoned largely the otherwise honorable job of representing people and offering leadership in a country. And so it's obscene, it's illegal, it's cruel, and it takes away from the public vital resources. Each member of Parliament, if they've received 100 million, each of them is a parish, because the parish development model received 100 million. And each member of Parliament is receiving 100 million. So, if you do the mathematics, one MP is equal to a parish.
Do you think the MPs who have come out with a resolution condemning this money are genuine?
I think they are doing.
Do you give them a benefit of your doubt?
I would want to, but because I know them quite well, I doubt that they mean it. They are doing a PR job. I'd like to see more evidence on that.
In your time, it was 5 million.
Yes, it was 5 million to people that agreed to amend their signatures to a constitutional amendment.
Today, it's gone up to 100 million shillings.
I wasn't one of them, but the list of those that received are very clear. I do remember that money was coming from under the table and being thrown on top of the table for all those that are eligible to receive it. Of course, they have multiplied, but if you went by the dollar, it's still not worth it.
Well, virtually, we're joined by...
Maybe, Simon, we could just ask the voters, the public, to ask for their pound of flesh when the MPs go back. That would be a good way to pay their back.
They should.
But is 100 significant, really?
It is a lot of money. When you aggregate it, it's 50 billion shillings.
Well,
that is a lot of money. For communities that actually don't have.
The Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago now joins us virtually from his residence. Lord Mayor, good to have you and a very good evening. First, what's your take on the 100 million bounty at Parliament?
Just like my colleagues, the Honorable Salam and Semuju said, this phenomenon is not new. Cash bonanza in the House is a ritual which happens in any given, tenure of Parliament, especially around this time when we are going into a new election cycle. And I remember our time in the 8th Parliament, it was 20 million. And there will always be a reason to sanitize it. For our case, the 20 million, they dubbed it facilitation for monitoring NADs. And I remember posing a question to the people who were giving out the money that, look, for my case, I represent Kampala Central. And to the best of my knowledge, there is not even a single NADS activity at that time that had been brought to my attention. So they just said, you just take the money and you will account for it. Whatever accountability you bring, it will be accepted. Obviously, we rejected the 20. It was very big money at that time, but that's how they sanitized it. The first time we had gotten an opportunity to, I think, to debunk this official corruption Semuju has been talking about was due to Jukwatako. I think this was a very good, it was a golden opportunity because this time round they did not deny it. Just like now they are denying the 100 million, they denied the 40 million, but the 29 for Tojukwatako was very clear. Unfortunately, that opportunity was squandered by the Constitutional Court because they rationalized it as, facilitation for consultation. But for intents and purposes, it was bribery. It's very, very unfortunate that it is happening. Personally, I commend those who have raised the red flag, those who have blown off the lead, because otherwise it could just be covered up and then they go away with the loot unnoticed.
But at the end of the day, do you believe that there should be collective responsibility over this money? Do we say that Parliament got into this bonanza, or we blame the individuals?
You see, there's no way they can take collective responsibility even with those who have not gotten the money. Obviously, there is a credibility crisis for the entire House. And when there is an indictment, it doesn't discriminate. All of them are indicted. Those who have taken the money, those who have not shared in the loot, it's unfortunate. That's what is going to happen. And just like Salam said, it's been transactional. I mean, the relationship between Museveni and Parliament is now transactional. And they have also learned the tricks of arm twisting Museveni. Every time there are those hot matters which you want to push down the throat of Parliament, when he wants to stampede them, they know how they can arm twist him to get this money. Like for this particular matter, they know it's the issue of, bringing back or resuscitating rather the General Court Martial with the mandate to deal with the civilians who are considered to be accomplices to serving soldiers. That one, they know it's a do or die matter for Mr. Museveni, that he wants it like no any other business. They know it's a matter where they could twist him and they get money from him. You remember even the other day when he tried to blow hot, and then he was huffing and puffing and saying nothing evidence was going to rein in this errand and bully the arrest of you. But that's where it ended. So it's business as usual, which is really very, very unfortunate.
Well, thank you very much. If I could finally end this with you, Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Nganda, what do you know about this questionable money, and what don't you know?
The stories are as you hear them. Because, as I said at the beginning of the show, money that is unofficially given, those who are suspected to be giving will deny, and the recipients will deny. Because it is easy to do so.
But there was some bit of ransoming, that the president was ransomed for MPs to pass the coffee bill.
I'm not even sure that that is the reason, because I don't know of any meeting between Museveni and MPs where MPs are not asking money or favors. Whether it is informal meetings, whether it is NRM meetings, whether it is... because that's the relationship between Museveni and politicians. I have told my own story. When we were with Ofono Opondo in the State House to record the Capital Gang, Miguel meets me in the corridor. He hugs me for seeing right. Because they know when you go to State House, and that's the reason I remember Lukwago to say this. There was a time Mr. Museveni was dying to talk to Lukwago at the beginning of his administration as a mayor. And one of the reasons Lukwago refused was that there is no you're going to theater of bribery. Because if you enter State House and you came out, everybody will think you'll come with something. That's the Museveni has established there. So in all meetings I have known as a journalist, as an MP, official meetings between and MPs are meetings to beg from the one who controls the resources of the country. That's why I don't know this particular transaction, whether it is for something done or it is for something that will be done.
Is it time Ugandans started asking or questioning the rationale behind classified budgets?
I did a minority report on supplementary schedule number 3. We have just approved the supplementary for this financial year, which ends in June. And in total, it brought the budget of State House, Museveni's budget, to 1 trillion. And one of the items in the Museveni budget for his residence is classified, which has gone now to 400 and something billion. I asked the MPs at the time we were processing this money, I needed someone to tell me what was classified about a residence. Because the president operates an office, there is the president's office with a budget. There are also agencies that are under president's office like ISO and with a budget. you have classified under defense, sometimes classified expenditure, sometimes classified equipment. And when you look at the law establishing State House, the Presidential, Vice President and Prime Minister's Emolument Act, it does not assign the State House the sort of responsibility that they claim. And I remember I've kept making this argument. That huge amount of money available to a person, he will use it the way he likes it.
Thank you.
So you are a president, Simon, in the State House. So you have 1 trillion shilling for your residence. One of the items under that 1 trillion is 400 classified. Really, you must be a fool to think that there is anything classified Museveni is doing with his wife at State House. This is not there. But that it's just doing politics.
Does the president come off as magnanimous, that each time MPs cry out to him, he'll always find a route?
First of all, there's the line in that vote for donations. Obviously, because of the things the president is doing, official and unofficial, and being the available president on almost every issue, people accost him. 2 days ago, a local leader, died in Kabaramaido. A former MP there called me and said, the president knows this person personally. With our politics here, we need the president to support. The person died of cancer in Murago here, and the family was stranded. And said, can you help us talk to the PPS or somebody so that the president is notified? I did. I'm not privy now, but I think some support was given just to help take that body. Now, there are those things that, yes, you may, the things I said about MPs, you may say it is something small, but that's the nature of the country the president is running. That somebody will reach him with a problem. Somebody will reach the president with the problem, my child passed, but can't pay tuition in Makerere or in other university in the country. And the president will say, okay, PPS help us, or help out, or comptroller.
This money is purportedly off a supplementary budget.
Now, the classified, first of all, classified is official in the government of Uganda. And it is spread in a number of entities and is audited by a specific committee of parliament. Maybe we should ask that committee of parliament, do they do a good job when State House, when defense provides accountability for classified? Now, this particular president, let us just take what's going on in our northern neighbor, South Sudan. The president is doing a lot of errands. Sometimes that involves bringing different parties to Uganda. That money is not going to charge on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He may as well charge from that classified. He puts somebody in a safe house, for example, maybe a hotel, for a whole month. For example, right now we have people of Riek Machar who have run away. If you listen to the news, international news, they say they have fled. To where have they fled? President Museveni is a guarantor to the peace process in South Sudan. You could easily find that some of those leaders of Garang's faction, rather of Riek Machar's faction, could as well have been facilitated to come and seek refuge, but also facilitate consultations.
But,
will the president come to Semuju?
Oh, just a second. I think you're also now trying to sanitize
the
bad manner of the president.
I'm not sanitizing. I'm telling you, the president once told you people that we run countries as is, not as you would like it to be. So I'm telling you,
you have a duty to change them.
I'm telling you, but before you change the law, before you change the rules, there's a situation in your hand. The president will facilitate groups like those, either to come here, or even to go to Cairo, or to Nairobi so that they are facilitated to reach some semblance of convergence on matters. There are issues in Congo. The president is not going to ask probably foreign affairs. Maybe the foreign affairs people will say, our hands are tied, we cannot spend money on MPs from DR Congo who are helping us to make the people of Congo understand why Operation Shuja should go on, and so on and so forth. So there are many things that the president, even locally here, the president will use that money to fund certain activities. It is of course convenient for Honorable Sembiju to say he's funding his politics. But for example, if the Honorable Sembujus have been falling on each other's neck within FDC, assuming one faction reaches the president and says, we are in this mess, help us out, what would he do? Certainly, he will handle. So because he says we must handle,
which mess?
Yes, we must govern Uganda as is, not as you would want to be. So the president will use that classifier. Now, is there room or possibility that there's abuse? Yes, it could be abused, either by the president himself or by the handlers. He gives duties to manage.
I want to shift to Honorable Salam. There is a lot of outrage from the public, of course, over this money, like it's always been. Don't you think the public is missing the bigger picture? They are looking more at the receiver, not the giver.
The whole transaction is bad. It distorts governance. And it distorts democracy. It distorts, actually it darkens the water in which we function and swim in as political leaders. Listening to OO, I think I should thank him for clarifying on how we are misgoverned, because it looks like the president is in charge of funding the whole region on our backs, that we must go without education, without health, for South Sudan to mess itself up.
Because he guaranteed on our behalf.
Yes.
No. You see,
guarantees your Ugandans are able to do trade. Your Ugandans are able to do trade in South Sudan. Your Ugandans are able to do trade in Congo.
Reciprocal. South Sudanese are here.
Yes, that's true.
They're in Kenya.
That's true.
In Kenya.
But if they are not able
we are in
to
Congo.
manage certain things,
we are
and
in
they ask
Congo
you to manage
gold worth.
I'm not aware about
3 trillion shillings.
I'm not aware about looting.
Listen,
if
we are paying Congo after losing a case court in the International Court of Justice. In each of our budget, we are putting 7
Honorable Salam, you may proceed.
You cannot condemn the people of Uganda to poverty because they are running errands. They should pick their bill. They are rich people, they have oil. South Sudan has oil. So why are we spending taxpayers' money on Sudan and on Congo and other things? This evening I was being told by the NRM Secretariat, the Director of Foreign Affairs, that when President Ruto's party visited here, they were offered to be trained in Chankwanzi and that the president would pick the bill. Please, come on. You cannot run down our lives for your PR on the continent. I mean, then it means that everybody from the continent is coming to beg from Museveni and he's dishing out our money. His first mandate is to the people of Uganda, the people of Kamulina Mwendwa, and the people of Nagongera and wherever. So please, you know better. I think before you retire, you would want your grandchildren to live in a viable country, in a viable democracy, a competitive country. We can no longer spend money. People are right to be enraged. Actually, they should fight And their fight should be to take down all those guys that have received the 100
but none
million.
of them is acknowledging that they received. So the noise becomes empty.
Thieves never
They are
acknowledge.
shouting in the dark.
Listen, thieves never acknowledge. Do they? Classify them as thieves, because if you are privy to the
So does
video,
Samiji belong to the bunch?
if he has, yes.
But he says he hasn't.
He hasn't. But if he has, yes, he would belong to the thieves. That is very categorical.
Are you embarrassed by your parliament?
Certainly you feel bad when these things are around parliament. I don't know how many people have asked me since this story came out. Did you take the money? Please bring the money. It's very difficult to navigate stories like this, because collectively we all suspect. And because there is no official record, the only response is to deny. And I don't think people are stupid that when you deny, they are going to believe it. And this story is going to remain the way it is. Because if it was official, where you can display your accounts, then you're going to be believed. But this story is that you MPs, all of you, were given 100 million shillings. So
but do you think the institution of parliament, the leadership of parliament, has also thrown MPs under the bus by failing to come out to explain?
The trouble is that I don't think the public puts a lot of value on each one of us. And part of the problem is that even under these circumstances, those who are accused of giving and receiving, they will be the ones in the next parliament. The public has also let itself down because it puts no standards. There was a time we were discussing here bribery and patronage. And in the areas of Ankole and Chigezi, people go to a church and give 100 million. There was one, I think, who gave 200 million shilling. 300. So you want to look for standards. People can only behave if they are subjected to certain standards, but all of us are not. In the constituencies where we are MPs, where I agree with Ofono Opondo, the things that we are individually asked to do, those who are asking us to do those things will themselves be happy that there is money MPs are splashing around. Otherwise, they should be the one running after MPs when they are bringing money. But they will be roaring red carpet. One time I went to a fundraising in Kasokoso, and I told the priest that I don't want to line up with the NRM MPs with money that they have rooted. So you create space for us where we put our money, and these ones who have rooted, because they may need more prayers than us. So their money needs to be cleaned before you, the church, accept it. So the society itself, I think, partly because of vulnerability, and I think it is intended by Museveni that you make people vulnerable at all levels, so they begin running to you for help. And Ofono Opondo will describe you as a magnanimous president who wants to be the one to take bodies to up country. I mean, you simply can't run the country like that.
To be fair to the leadership of parliament, the Right Honorable Tayeba, who was presiding over the House, is on record saying no, as a House, as a parliament, as an institution, we cannot rely on street rumors. And said he has not seen, first of all, parliament has not given MPs that money, because parliamentary money officially is given on record. Second, he said he had not received any information to that effect. Third, that he, as a member of parliament, he had not received the money.
Have you seen this? Have you seen the short video on the leader of parliament's handle, ex-handle?
I have not. But I'm saying, to be fair, at least the presiding officer of yesterday, I think, the Right Honorable Tayeba, has made that categorical. And he would be like Semuja as well, that if it is not on record, how would he know anyway?
I think they have outsmarted us.
You remember
What?
We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll certainly be shifting gears to the subject of the day, where electoral reforms, mere hot air from Mao. Good evening.
NBS Frontline.
This is nature. This is timeless. This is more than a destination, but a reinvention that will open your mind. The promise of spaces as extensive as your imagination. Filled with surprises, each moment transforms as often as you do, and a room to breathe. This is not a business as usual, but a new way to inspire, connect, and yes, build ideas. We are on a journey to make your gateway unforgettable. The perfect blend of leisure and adventures. Because it is not all about your destination to Kalangala Island, but where you stay matters. We are Brevard Sands Lodge.
In a world where every cough and flu feels like a distraction, making you feel uneasy, where every cough and flu interrupts your day, making you lose concentration, and where every cough and flu keeps you up at night. Introducing Genacough DS Herbal Syrup, used to treat cough, flu, sore throat, allergy, and asthmatic coughs instantly. Genacough DS Herbal Syrup is made from our local herbs approved by National Drug Authority and is ideal for both children and adults. Genacough DS Herbal Syrup is a product of Gena Herbal Limited, the makers of Covidex, available in all pharmacies countrywide. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice. Gena Herbals, the home of safe herbal medicines. Yes!
Everyone has a dream this year, and it's your turn to Joga 2025 with ABSA. Switch to ABSA and make your dream a reality by applying for the ABSA salary loan. Call 0800 222 333 and let's get started. ABSA, your story matters. Frontline.
Welcome back. We are still discussing the recent developments on the political landscape. Honorable Norbert Mao went to Parliament and said Cabinet has expressed disinterest in the electoral reforms bid. What does this mean? Could it be a huge blow to the advocates of electoral democracy? I'll begin with you, Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago. How much of a setback is Honorable Mao's disappointing news?
Disappointing to who? In the first place, was there anything that Mao was promising to Ugandans? I think it was just hot air. Right from the word go, the talk of reforms, especially reforms driven and championed by a regime functionary like Mao, were a farce. So I don't know why people are excited about this, and then you're talking about disappointment, you are talking about dampening people's hopes and so on and so forth. It was hot air. It was just a farce. There was nothing. Actually, Mao ought to have resigned from cabinet. The day Museveni threw that egg in his face. You know, Mao treated Ugandans to a bluff when he said that the reason he had joined the Museveni regime was to champion that reform agenda, electoral reforms. So Museveni disowned the Mao project, the Mao reform agenda, and said, please, I hear Mao, you are talking about these things of transition. Who told you that we are all about that? Who gave you that assignment? It was a huge embarrassment to Mao if he had any shame left. Because all through, Mao was projecting himself like he had been assigned that duty by General Museveni to facilitate a transition, a peaceful transfer of power from Mr. Museveni to a duly elected president. So that is exactly what Mao was propagating. But Museveni disowned it. And Mao, instead of swallowing his humble pie and tell Ugandans, I'm sorry, I lied to you, he just chickened out. Surprisingly, he continued with a lie and said that now there are reforms, that he has taken them to cabinet. Then you ask him, unpack those reforms you are talking about. By the way, actually, when you go to the specifics, what is it that he's talking about? If anything, actually, it's only one thing I heard he was talking about, Sujui enhancing the capacity of the biometric voter verification machines, and that is all. Maybe also loosely talked about something like term limits and so on and so forth. That is buffoonery I'm sorry to use that strong term. It's buffoonery of the highest order. So Mao should swallow his humble pie, tell Ugandans that he lied to the nation. Of course, he was trying to cover up his deal. There was nothing like a pack of reforms he was championing. And therefore, he should have resigned. Otherwise, for us, I want to speak on behalf of my two colleagues who are in the studio there. I want to speak on behalf of everybody at Katonga, or all of us. We have told you a million times, for us, we do not have any business with whatever Mao is talking about, electoral reforms. We do not stop anyone pursuing whatever reforms they want, but for us, we believe reforms for and in themselves cannot usher in the much needed transition or change that we want as a country. The trajectory we have taken as a country, where you have a personal rule, where Museveni is entrenching his life presidents, where you have a military regime, there is no way you can talk about reforms.
Very much, Lord Mayor. I'll certainly
talk about electoral or legal reforms they can change anything.
I'll certainly
in a multi-party dispensation.
Thank you very much for your opinion. As someone who is in the corridors of power, was there any discussion around electoral reforms, or Mao was simply advancing a big lie?
Well, we have told Ugandans, even on this show, said, and the president said so, that our biggest reform was when we made the constitution, even with the amendments and the electoral laws that are in place are sufficient to deliver us a good electoral process and outcome, and even the transition from NRM party to another group, if Ugandans elect that group and deny the NRM the vote. Like we have seen, where people have voted other parliamentary candidates other than NRM, they have been permitted by the law, by the constitution, to take their seats in various organs of government. So anybody who wants a big reform, let them use that constitution. Let them mirror it against the performance of NRM and President Museveni, and you deny us the vote, we shall hand over power peacefully. So the question of electoral reform, the question of constitutional reform, the question of peaceful, transfer of power really shouldn't arise. The NRM, the day you defeat NRM will hand over power. So concentrate on that.
Yeah, but Mao has often said...
Now, I have also said on this show that the legislative agenda of government is usually lined up, contained in the State of the Nation address by the President. Go back to June last year, when the President delivered the State of the Nation address at the opening of this session of Parliament. There is nowhere where the President said we are going to have electoral reform law bill coming to Parliament. It's not there. Go and check it. I have said that on this show many times. So when Honorable Mao came up that he is writing something for electoral reform, he was talking in the corridors. Outside the corridors of government. He was talking in other corridors. He was going to donors, other fora, seminars, and saying so. And I came on this show and I said, although I don't sit in the cabinet, I am privy to some of the documents, because usually when a cabinet paper is written, is presented, cabinet has decided something, they extract cabinet minutes. And I get some of them. And I said, I have not seen the draft proposal of Honorable Mao. I have not seen a cabinet paper by Honorable Mao about electoral reform or even constitutional reform. And therefore, such a document doesn't exist.
So he's been peddling lies, speculation.
I will not use those words. I think you should have been fair, or even magnanimous. The term Honorable Sumujo doesn't want me to use on President Museveni. You should have invited Honorable Mao, because you are the one quoting him that has been saying, and we have all been hearing him. We should have called him here to tell the public, or even to show where is that draft.
Okay, Mao.
I have talked.
Mao went to Parliament and said he presented it to cabinet, and the cabinet.
I am saying
they're not interested.
I am saying I have not seen any cabinet paper written by the Minister of Justice to the effect proposing that the things that we want. I am not privy to it. I am not aware. And therefore, that question should be answered by Mao. And I'm talking about I'm saying the government of Uganda, its position is known by the legislative agenda the President outlines at the State of the Nation address, or along the way, he can seek the intervention of the Speaker and says, stop gap, or stop press, as we would say. The cabinet would want to bring the following. He can do that mid-session. I'm not privy. The second one is random cabinet paper.
Yeah, but Mao said he presented it before cabinet, and Chris Baryomus was tasked.
I am saying, ask Honorable Mao, let him now invite him the next show and say, show us the draft of that cabinet paper, which you say cabinet either turned down or is not interested in. If he's kind enough, he will give you that draft, if he thinks, if indeed it exists. So that's what I'm saying. But as far as I know, there is no cabinet paper on electoral reforms. There is no cabinet minute on electoral reform. So I will take. I didn't hear him on the floor of Parliament, but I'm willing to receive it if it is there. So the cabinet, the government position is outlined in the State of the Nation Address. Should there be, in any case, Uganda is here. Should the president and cabinet determine that indeed electoral reform is necessary, we are having in 2 months' time another State of the Nation Address. The president will outline the legislative agenda between of this coming financial year.
So what I deduce from whatever you're saying is that Mao has been peddling empty talk all this while.
Those are your words. I am saying I have not seen, I am not privy, and indeed there is no cabinet minute on electoral reforms.
Thank you. Honorable Salam.
Yeah.
Were you among the Ugandans who were keen on electoral reforms
but the people who want electoral reform, for example, from opposition, they have members of parliament. Let them bring the proposals on electoral reform, and NRM in parliament will gladly engage with those proposals.
Honorable Salam, I want to bring you on.
Yeah.
Going by what OO is saying, and versus what Mao has been preaching, who is fooling who?
You see, there's a history to the request and the necessity for electoral reforms. But government doesn't have the appetite for it, because what is in place serves its dubious electoral manipulations very well. You will recall that under IPOD, electoral reforms were presented by the FDC then as the leader of the opposition, and presented to IPOD as proposed, so that they could create consensus in order to quickly process it through Parliament, because that was the purpose of IPOD. At that time, it was Honorable Migereko and Honorable Amama Mbabazi that were in charge, and they disowned the entire process and bastardized the whole process. And so Mao, I wonder what prompted him to think that he had the magic bullet to be able to move a process.
Did you ever have any hope on him?
I did have some hope. I thought he was serious in the presentation, because you can't such a white guy when you don't own the government.
So you fell for a lie?
I didn't fall for it. I allowed him space to prove to me that actually his joining government meant to serve a bigger good than his personal good. So as it has come to pass, it was nothing. Shamefully nothing. Shamefully nothing. And you know, people should stop playing about with the aspirations of us who believe that it is no good going to the bush.
But you should perhaps give it to him that he was able to face Parliament and speak the truth without delaying the country any further. Now you know the fate.
How come he didn't know earlier on? Because he's old enough and experienced enough to know that nothing has changed about this NRM government, and nothing is about to change. And so we have lived on lie after lie after lie. You see, the way they stampede electoral reforms and constitutional amendments, the way they stampede that they can even amend a constitution in one afternoon. If they have, because they use their numbers as a weapon against the people of Uganda. And so, Honorable Mao needed a life support mechanism, and that presentation gave him that until now.
Honorable Semuju, how much benefit did you give to Honorable Mao in the first instance when he said he's coming in now as a disciple who's going to push for electoral reforms and the transition?
I think if you allow me, before I discuss Mao, when the Honorable Otafire was Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, he did propose a constitutional review commission to the president and went ahead even to propose people to sit on it. I think he had proposed either the Honorable Ben Watch or Honorable Wandero Galo to chair it, to look at the constitution. Because there are many things that we need to have a conversation about. We are at the meeting with the National Bureau of Statistics to receive information and some analysis about the population census. Ofonopono comes from Tororo.
Namulanda.
Their district is about 300,000 people. It has 9 MPs. Kampala, with 2.5 million people, has 10 MPs. Ofono has 9 with 300,000. Karamoja, with 1.5 million people, it is represented by 26 million people.
26 MPs.
26 MPs. Wakiso, with 3.5 million people, we are 9. The reforms goes beyond the bills, I mean the acts for parliamentary presidential. I am studying and finalizing my response as Shadow Minister of Finance to the budget. Under the President's office, the RDCs now have grown to 700. The districts have remained 146, but the RDCs are 700.
Including deputies and assistants?
Yes, assistants. You know, in Fonopono's district, they have a constituency called South Udama, West North East.
Sorry?
They have a constituency called South Udama, North East, West East.
Is that true?
That's how they became 9. 300,000 people.
Honorable Semujo is being cavalier, humorously so.
So tell us what it is. Foxodo is constituency.
Northeast.
It's not northeast.
West Budama, because that's the name of the
so you start with West Budama?
No, West Budama is the name of the county.
No, you start with
yes.
West Budama, northeast.
West Budama is the name of our county, like you would have Chadundu. It's West Budama, as opposed to East Budama, which is the Teso side now. So that constituency, that West Budama was divided into 2 constituencies. West Budama North and West Budama South. Then in 2020, the 2 constituencies were subdivided. West Budama South was subdivided into West Budama Central and West Budama South. West Budama North was subdivided into West Budama North and West Budama North.
Is he saying something different from what I said?
So there is West Budama Northeast.
Yes. So Semuju is being simply.
You start with West Budama Northeast. So the point I make, Simon, is that
I think that's hilarious.
No, I am telling you, where M7 has support, he will make villages, because they are choosing a Obote of gerrymandering. But you've surpassed him. That you can have 300,000 people represented by 9 MPs, and you have 3.5 million people represented by the same number. You have Kampala, 2.5 million people, 10 MPs. Karamoja, 1.5 million people, 26 MPs. And then they will say NRM has numbers in parliament. And then you have the NRM candidate who deploys the state during campaigns. I have told you he grew the list of RDCs, the districts, because RDCs are a creature of the constitution. But he has found a way of now making them 700 with assistants, with the deputy, and then mobilizers are on the list, on payroll of State House. So we need to have a conversation because of foreign opponents. When you defeat us, we'll hand over power. Yeah. But we don't go with you in a normal election.
So that's exactly the conversation Mao has been heralding for a while.
And I want now to come to Mao, because before I blame Mao, I want to blame the person who is responsible for all this.
Us from West Pudama, Northeast.
Yes, Southeast, North, something. So I want to blame the person who is responsible, because before Mao, you had the Otafire, at one time Monori Mukasa. They even appointed a Constitutional Review Commission. Because I have given you an area of constituencies, you now have districts. You have, someone told me earlier that you have a woman MP who came from somewhere with about 8,000, so the voters in a district. The administrative units, the representation at Parliament, you still have the military there. Who vote with NRM. I remember the Honorable Kadaga had difficulties seating them. Where do they sit? Because when Parliament became multi-party, and the constitution, and in the rules you have the government side and opposition side. She was asking where will the military sit?
But Honorable Semji, there was a precedent, the multi-party Parliament of 1984 July. It was a multi-party parliament. It had UPC, it had DP, it had the UPM, that parliament of second Obote. And it had 10 members of the army, UNLA. Kadaga could have gone, Honorable Kadaga should have gone to the president of that parliament. How was the army sitting in that parliament?
We are the only...
That constitution of 1967, as amended, under which that election, UNLA sat in that parliament.
We are the only country in Africa that has military representation.
So by extension, Mao is a victim of the system.
I am coming to Mao, that he joined an old conversation that had been unsettled, and the problem is Museveni. When Mao joined, he said there was an understanding that the things that the Otafires, the Monori Mukasas, that his negotiation with Museveni was actually to make these things happen. I told him when he came here that memorandum for me was an appointment letter.
The cooperation agreement, you mean?
That's what I told him here, that I didn't see anything beyond that. And Museveni confirmed. Museveni, when he was commenting about it, he said for him, he works with everybody, works with his relatives, works. So Mao joining cabinet was just to allow him also to be part of government, but not because they had agreed on a number of things. So that's as far as I look at Honorable Norbert Mao. And I did not believe that the Museveni who betrayed the Kategaya, who betrayed the Vestiges, the Muntu, the Mushegas, people who at that time were working together they were vulnerable collectively, made the sacrifice collectively, and then agreed that when we get power, we need to do the following. That you can have an agreement changing the mindset of that person who has reneged on all the undertakings he made, even with his colleagues, some of them very close to him, that an outsider now, Mao, would be the one. When he went to meet religious leader after the 2016 elections, when he wanted to take a photograph with the Besigye photo, all the, our discussions, he said, I need to meet Besigye and these things will happen. Because Besigye knows Museveni, so he denied that. But when he met the religious leaders, because at that time you had the women, who were the situation room, you had the Ogola of the Elders Forum, and then you got the Interreligious Council. At that time, Museveni was very angry because he had a number of people telling him, you need a dialogue, you need to sort out these things. See, the dialogue is there. There is iPod, there is this thing of electoral commission, there is everything. When he met religious leaders, he started also accusing them. He said, you Mubaje, you sold the properties of Muslims. Have you had a dialogue with them? Then he went to the Catholics. Then in the end, the topic we started with of money. He gave the late Archbishop money for a circle and money for Namugongo. Then he gave Mubaje money for something else. So the conversation about a dialogue to sort out the... So if Museveni cannot respect the religious leader, he cannot respect the situation room, he cannot respect the elders, he cannot respect his contemporaries. Did anyone believe, even for a second, that Mao was going to be the magic bullet that to deliver? It was just a joke.
Okay, the transition bid failed. The reforms bid failed. What's now left for Mao?
To correct himself from where he is, I don't know, because at least now he has settled in. Well, and I don't think there are many people who are going, because at the beginning there were questions. So you were joining under what arrangement? And the arrangement was a transition.
Lord Mayor, is it time for the country now to interrogate what was in the cooperation agreement between Norbert Mao and the NRM?
Honestly speaking, that debate would be irrelevant because it would be foolhardy for us as a nation to get embroiled in that love letter Museveni wrote for Mao, the appointment letter the Honorable Semuju is talking about. Because for intents and purposes, there is virtually nothing. Museveni just created the window to conscript Mao into the fold, to bring him within the cabinet, and to supplement the Honorable Semuju's submission. Actually, it was just about balancing. It was about regional balance. Was wanted even to have the Achoris also in the cabinet. That's what Mr. Museveni said. So do we really need to discuss that? The central focus would be about the deep crisis we are embroiled in as a nation. Because right now, I would pose a question to all of us. There was talking about following the constitutional path to usher in the much needed transition. The question I would ask, and it's a $1 million question, which kind of constitutional order do we have right now? Which constitutional order? You have a constitution that has been corrupted, that has been bastardized, that has been adulterated, with all the safety nets removed, term limits, age limit, and what you can talk about. So the document which was adopted on the 8th day of October 1995, right now has since become a mere paper tiger. So that is the crisis you have, that you have a document on the one hand which purports to be the instrument guiding the political processes in the country, but what is obtaining on the ground is a totally different trajectory. You have Mr. Museveni governing outside the purview of the Constitution. So that is the crisis we are having. So getting the country back onto the rail, onto the constitutional path, that is the critical challenge we are having. So how do we deal with this issue? What kind of conversation can we have? Because Museveni has closed all the doors within the parameters of the Constitution to have a transition, save for only one, that is Article 3 of the Constitution. It's the only one now available. So the conversation will be about how do we now get back our sovereign authority as a nation, using the mandate, and rather actually invoking the command made by the Constitution under the provisions of Article 3. How do we regain our sovereign authority as a country, as a nation, to be able to chart a way forward, to take charge of the destiny of our country? That is the conversation we must be having, not those mere pieces of paper which Mao signed with Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. That would be a useless debate, I'm sorry, with all due respect.
Final nail in the discussion around electoral reforms. What is the fate of the forthcoming elections?
Hello? Come again?
Now that Honorable Mao has pronounced himself that there are no reforms, what kind of elections are Ugandans going into come 2026?
Well, you already have the template of Kawempe elections. You don't need to go very far. That's the template you're going to have in 2026, where JAT will move in, club everyone, where the results will be falsified. You remember the results which were being read out before cameras, where the NRM candidate, Nambi Farida, had scored like a 70, they would add another 0 to make it 700. That's what is going to happen. Where everybody was beaten up, and you ended up with a turn-up of 14%. And in the aftermath of that horrible election, that bogus election, with all due respect, you get a very disturbing statement from the chairman of the Electoral Commission that let Parliament amend the law and make voting compulsory. How outrageous can one be? Article 59 of the Constitution makes it a right. Indeed, if I'm to go to the polls to exercise my right to choose who should be my leader, it's my prerogative. It's my right. Now, how do you make it a command? I don't know how ridiculous this man sounded. I don't know whether I actually believed in it. Instead of interrogating the issues causing voter apathy, that public despondence, why people are now shunning elections, why they have become fast, why they have become, something which is useless, he's coming up with outrageous recommendations. So you are not going to have elections in 2026. Today, we are in April. The electoral laws are very clear that potential candidates, those are the aspirants, have got a right to canvass, not canvassing support, to consult the electorate, at least a year to the nomination exercise. Nominations are just around the corner in September. Public meetings are banned. Not even a single individual can hold, not even indoor meetings. So which kind of election is that?
Well, Lord Mayor.
So you were talking about the amendments like Mao is, probably what Mao should have been talking about. The structural interdicts that were made way back in 2016 in the Amama Mbabazi decision, that petition Amama Mbabazi filed, and the Supreme Court, after dismissing the petition in 2016, highlighted a number of areas that required fine-tuning. To date, not even a single issue raised in those structural interdicts has been addressed by the executive or parliament. So which kind of election is that you're going to have?
Lord Mayor, I want to thank you very much. As we take a break, now that government seems to be dismissing everything Mao is spreading or talking about, transition talk was dismissed by the president. You're now saying you have not seen anything to do with electoral reforms. What are the chances that there wasn't even any agreement, cooperation agreement, and it was just an appointment letter?
Well, first of all, the cooperation agreement between the president of the government and Mao and Honorable Mao as the leader of DP does exist in writing. I'm not privy to it. Mao has been here and has shown it to our viewers. So please, invite him here and ask him to show the public that agreement. Secondly,
you're a government spokesperson, yes, but you don't know what government agreed with Mao.
I am saying the document exists. It is you who's doubting. I'm telling you, it exists. The agreement is not between you and Mao or government. The people to whom the agreement applies do have the agreement in writing. So you can ask one of the parties to give you and you read.
Yeah, but now, one of the parties is dismissing the ingredients.
No. Well,
that suggests that maybe...
If you go outside the content of agreement, I'm obliged to clarify to the audience to whom you are speaking, and that's what the president was doing. He was clarifying that my agreement with the Honorable Mao does not contain what you are saying to the public. Now, it is the onus is on Honorable Mao. If the president is disowning what exists, let him bring the agreement, and we shall see who is not telling the truth. Now, transition or not, there's nothing in the constitution and the laws of Uganda which says what Honorable Mao says is what will happen. We have a constitution, we have laws. That's what will happen. Now, the Lord Mayor is saying there won't be elections. Why is it?
He didn't say that. He said what happened in Kawempe is what will happen in 2026.
Well, we are going to have elections.
Yes.
And I'm sure the Lord Mayor...
Even in Kawempe there was election.
The other day, 2 days ago, I saw the Lord Mayor vociferously warning somebody called Ham Chigundu to dare, if he thinks he's somebody with his money, to come for his seat. So clearly, the Lord Mayor, my brother Ukwago, is going for elections. If he is really convinced that what happened in the Kawempe is what's going, I don't think he would go for it. But he's coming
Ukwago went for elections.
He's coming. Lord
2011.
We are going to
and
have
those elections were called off because of violence.
Yes, we are going to have elections. Yes. Honorable Semujo here is going for election, and the PFF. This is what he has said.
Yes.
So we are going to have an election.
Well,
similar
with an egg on the face of Honorable Mao, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, and with the pronouncement that there are no electoral reforms, what is next? Good evening.
NBS Frontline. Welcome to La Rose Royal Apartments, where Kampala's charm meets luxury living. Nestled in the heart of Nakasero, this is elegance redefined. Imagine mornings with breathtaking views and evenings of pure relaxation. From stylish two-bedroom apartments to opulent penthouses, every detail is crafted to suit your lifestyle. Live your dream with our world-class amenities. Unwind by the pool, stay active in our state-of-the-art gym, or relax in our tranquil gardens. Don't wait to live the life you deserve. Flexible payment plans and limited time offers make it easy to call La Rose home. Visit www.remaxadvisors.ug or contact Remax Advisors, the commercial agent. La Rose Royal Apartments, where luxury begins.
Hallelujah! Here's reason! This Easter, enjoy more rewards and care from StarTimes! Simply pay monthly subscription for the next bouquet and enjoy an upgrade to the next higher bouquet. For classic and super bouquet customers, subscribe for a month and enjoy 5 days extra. Extra entertaining and educative kids channels.
And now it's time to
extra new series on Makula TV and Gangs of Manila on the Novella E+. Reality TV dating show Hello Mr. Right Season 2.
How old are you?
A thrilling title race in StarTimes UPL and La Liga. For more information, please call customer care on Airtel line 0200 117 700 or MTN line 0317 117 700. Star Times Easter. Care beyond entertainment.
Where's your mom?
My mom is at home, father.
I've had a picture and I went right through her body and I saw wounds in her intestines.
Yes, father. She has been struggling with colon swelling for a long time.
Inside,
yes.
They are yellowish.
Yes, father. All the doctors had failed.
But today,
yes, Lord.
Want to get her healed?
Yes, father.
Because of you, eh?
Watch The Power of Prophecy with Prophet Elvis Mbonye this Saturday, 6:30 p.m. on NBS TV, Uganda.
Frontline.
Welcome back. It's still the Frontline as we make sense of the electoral journey ahead of 2026. Well, Lord Mayor, I want to bring you in finally with your wrap. What do you think is going to happen between now and the time of elections? Now that we're getting uncoordinated voices all over the place.
Nothing much is going to happen except for, intensified repression and suppression, persecution, and also manipulation, patronage, and so on and so forth. Definitely there will be some heightened activity in the parliament where you are going to have this hot debate about the general court martial, and now that the MPs have gotten some money, it's going to be some heated debate there. Of course, there's going to be a fight we're also going to put up because we'll not have Mr. Museveni to just have it his way, the way he deems it. Definitely will not just go with it without a fight. So let him brace up for a tough fight we are going to put up. Resuscitating the defunct general court martial is one thing we are going to fight tough. But again, there is also the issue of Parliament again having those kind of machinations about reforms. There will be some diversionary debate about, electoral reforms and whatnot, which may not yield anything. But by and large, what needs to be done is just people organizing themselves for a pushback if we are to change anything. And hopefully our commander-in-chief, that is retired Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye, would be out of jail, hopefully, because tomorrow we are going back to court. We made our case. We put in stronger grounds for bail to be granted to him. We are just keeping our fingers crossed that justice prevails and the judge releases him tomorrow. that will also have its own dynamics and ramification. So generally, that is the kind of highlight I can give you.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Lord Mayor, for your input tonight, and it's been nice connecting with you. Have a lovely night. Honorable Semujunganda, when you look at what's on the political radar at the moment, is there any kind of conversation that can be tailored from Parliament to give a bit of sanity to the electoral process ahead of 2026?
It's very difficult. You see, this Parliament it's different. I was in Parliament as a journalist. When you look at the Parliament of the Musumbas, the Wachas, the Kazoras, with the elders like Kiluzindana, was a Parliament that was concerned with the future. Concerned, and they had a discussion among themselves almost every evening. Our Parliament is money. It's not about Uganda. Even to get people with whom you can have a conversation about the future of Uganda is very difficult. And I am unlucky because the Musumbas, the people I have mentioned, I saw them in the Parliament. And actually I thought that's what takes place in Parliament. And Museveni likes that. He likes that. But also, even outside Parliament...
Would you consider leaving Parliament now that you say is of low quality? People you can't have a discussion with.
Then I also leave Uganda, because if Uganda is under Museveni is of low quality.
Okay.
I told the people in my constituency that people go to town every day looking for money. Some get, some don't. But you don't cover yourself with a blanket and cry. You continue trying. So where we are governed by the military. Museveni and his son and brother. Even the next election, Saleh is a bit smarter. The son is reckless. When people were beaten in Kawempe, the military denied, the police denied him. He said, no, we are the ones who are there. Where we are going, we must brace ourselves. Because Museveni, officially at 80, is becoming weaker. My father died. I witnessed how people become weaker in old age, day by day. So you now have at least officially an 80-year-old man in charge of a country, and is being aided by his son, who he keeps sending. Sometimes is the one in charge of foreign policy, in charge of deployment, in charge of regional affairs. And his son thinks, because I think he's grown up seeing violence, that these things are going to be sorted out that way. So that's the sort of election. Because you ask yourself, what crime did Narukola and his party commit in Kawempe for them to be treated the way they were treated? What crime? But from the beginning of the process to the end, they were being beaten. And I know all of us are going to be subjected to the same things. Because now government is fractured. So each relative has interest. Those who are in gold have interest. Those who are in cows have interest. These Ofonopondos are like us. Cabinet ministers are just like... So the government is around the family. So that question, if you want an answer, maybe you bring Saleh here or Muhozi, they will tell you which the nature of the election will have.
Well,
in 20 up to 2003, 2005, some of the structures were still working. The Ofonopondos were at the secretariat, they were writing some papers. I don't know even whether people still remember that Todongo is the Secretary General of NRM. I don't know if they remember. Because people who are active running the country. It is Museveni, it is his son, it is his brother. And he has his other brothers who are trying to... so that's where we are. We can pretend about it, but that's how elections are going to be organized.
The impression now, given the submission of Honorable Mao, that government is disinterested in electoral reforms, the impression now is that government is just adamant. You just want a messy election for your political survival.
Well, first of all, let me respond to Honorable Semuju. You can go and check. Uganda is not the only country on the African continent where the army is constitutionally, legally represented in parliament. And I can just cite for him one. Namibia is one of them.
Now what?
Namibia. You can go and check. But there are many others, maybe 3 or 4 others. The fact that not many people any longer speak about FDC does not mean that FDC doesn't exist. So if Honorable Semuju doesn't see Honorable Todwong visible, that's okay. But that does not mean NRM doesn't exist. Honorable Semuju partly is crying because of, and his group, they are crying partly because NRM is actually visible and they are failing to knock it down. But you are free to say Todwong doesn't exist, NRM doesn't exist. The only 3 people or 4, the only 3 people or 4 you see, 7, Salim Saleh,
and
Mohoz Kainerugaba, and quite often, I'm very surprised today you haven't mentioned Janet Museveni.
She's not
now, that's also okay. Mohoz is your age mate. Maybe that's at your age, that's what you do. You are very aggressive. I can see you are very aggressive against Museveni, who is not here. You are very aggressive against First Lady, who is not here. You are very aggressive against who rarely talks about public matters. He's doing his own things. Now, if your ministers choose to go and see Sari for whatever reason, blame them, blame their quality. But why not? Why not see Sari? I mean, we have democratized, we have opened up government. You are the one saying, consult whoever is a stakeholder. Now, an MP can define Sari as a stakeholder. Why not consult him on matters of public interest, of Uganda's interest? And so,
as who?
As a Ugandan, first and foremost.
Okay.
But also, unless you want to hide under the sun your head, he is among those who the president has given some docket. Sari occupies a former office in the government of Uganda as a senior advisor to the president on many things. Now, you can choose to ignore. But to what end? If we don't ignore Honorable Semuju, we got Honorable Semuju, opposition MP, FDC spokesperson, very eloquent member of parliament. PFF. But I go to him. I consult him quite regularly, by the way.
Where?
There's no single week I don't speak to Honorable Semuju here. There's no single week. There's no single week. We have actually a platform, but not one. First of all, we have a platform that is created by the Frontline, both on this TV, but also on our WhatsApp group. You know that very well. We have with him on Capital Gang. He knows very well. But also as a media person, he knows that. So if I don't ignore him, even when he rubbishes the NRM and government, why would he want to rubbish those who go to consult Sari? Now, there will be an election.
Okay. How does it make you look?
We Honorable Semuju?
No, Mao.
Making me how?
Government.
Government, there are many tendencies. This is probably this is 1 or 2 areas the cabinet has disagreed with the Mao, most likely because he speaks not in tandem with what transpires in the cabinet. But there are many other areas where we are in convergence, where cabinet is in convergence with the Honorable Mao.
So he comes off as an outcast. When he comes out and says cabinet rejected.
But is it only his proposal that has been rejected by this cabinet? I can list things that have been brought by Honorable Tafire and cabinet turned it down. Things that have been brought by the Attorney General, by other ministers, and so you know there are many bills. Bills.
And the ministers never come out to tell the public.
There are many bills. There are many bills. Ministers have even brought to cabinet, to parliament, to cabinet, and they were turned down. There are many bills ministers have brought to parliament dominated by NRM, and they have been compelled to withdraw, to drop along the way. So, if Honorable Mao is chosen as his style of work, each time cabinet turns him down, but is obliged to go to parliament to say, look, I made this proposal, the collective organ did not agree with me. That's also a good thing. Maybe what you can fault him for if he was not speaking, but I think that that parliament is the right forum for him. If they ask him, you have been talking about electoral reform, what happened? I think he's simply being honest to go to parliament and say, colleagues, yes, I took to cabinet, maybe verbally or even in writing, they have turned it down. So that they don't, parliament should not have hope via the cabinet route. Now the onus is on the Semujus who want electoral reform. Honorable Semuju, bring your proposal.
Thank you.
We are ready to.
Thank you, Honorable Salam Musumu.
If they are reasonable, NRM and the whole government will accept it. But I don't think Honorable Barimwezo need electoral reform to do his apakata. He's ready to do his apakata with or without electoral reform.
Honorable Salam, your parting shot. Do you blame Mao or the system?
No, I don't have time to waste on those. I want to deal with the creeping disaster of militarizing the entire political space. And when you see retiring or retired military people making a choice to join elective politics, you know that it's now a backdoor effort to fill the house.
There is Russian
with the military. There'll be many.
But that's very interesting. Honorable Salam here has her president, her mentor, Kanu, Major General Muntu. One time he had John Kazora. Why do you think this, when the Russians come, is a bad thing?
I'm just telling the public that watch out for it, because it is a design. It is another design to consolidate the militarism within the house. We can discuss the different phases of military and what this phase means.
Have you seen the profile of congressmen in the US, for example? Have you seen?
I am seeing Uganda.
No,
you find it healthy that there is a retired general out there, Rashande, for instance, who is vying for a political seat, right?
Why not?
Okay, fine.
Because you are the same people who say once somebody has retired, he is now a civilian. This is this judgment of the area Pagoni court that this guy has retired, he's not an army person, he's a civilian. So Rashande, I'm Mukunde, I'm seeing Kisembo in the Kamwenge, those are now civilians. Why are you worried of these civilians who are now joining the democratic politics? But you are happy with your civilian, Muntu, you are happy with your civilian, Besige, you are happy with this one, you are not happy with the other ones. Really, this is a double-edged thing.
It's not double. It will come to the general public's knowledge over time that this is yet another effort to displace civilians. Because even the effort by the military to say, no, you are in reserve. Are they not in reserve for 5 years? For 5 years
you enacted that law in 2005.
Is it anything the country should really
Yes, she was in parliament. You enacted the UPDF Act. If it was in your wisdom that 5 years when you're in reserve, you should not be in civilian politics.
That is not a civilian then. When
politics,
you are in reserve, then you're not a civilian.
Yeah, you should have made it very clear.
You know English. You know English and you know what a reserve is.
No, go to the Constitutional Court and challenge and say, we are seeking interpretation. Are people who are retired from the army but are still in reserve for the 5 years, are they eligible to
something I need to bring in here is the trend of retired generals now vying for parliament. Anything big to focus on as a country in a minute?
If it's a tactic to retire them to go and contest, that will be a problem. If they retire on their own, but if they assign, because you have seen here, there was a Major General, I've forgotten his name, actually.
Tema?
The one who died, he had some discipline.
Julius Oketa?
I think Oketa. He retires, and Museveni returns him into the military. Can tactfully retire people the same way he retired this one who became Savanyala.
Come here.
Chimeze,
yes.
There is another one, he had retired to become a traditional leader in the Wundibujo. So it can be a tactic, pretense, that people are vying for constituencies on their own when they are being told. I mean, when they are deployed.
To be fair, the generals,
Simon.
The generals who the Sembujus are fraternizing, the army officers the Sembujus are fraternizing with, Honorable Dr. Kizabisiji, demanded to be retired so that he goes to elective politics.
Yeah. Did you hear me?
Muntu asked to be retired so that they can go into John Kazora and many others, Chelsea Berugabo, Biaruhanga, many of them did retire specifically to go.
I'm afraid I need to bring this to a close, and many thanks, many thanks, Honorable Salam Musumba. Thank you, Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, and Honorable Semuju Ibrahim Nganda. That's it for me tonight. Frontline returns on Thursday next week. Cheers.